autumn. It's summer, but I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on air. Sha'Carri Richardson. She ran in the 100-meter final. She gave you a silver. But why are you upset with this queen? Why? Why the outrage? We'll touch on that and more later. You're watching BS3 presents the morning shift with Cole Johnson on Roku TV via BS3, BS3TVLive.com, and the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. And you're listening to it live on Real Wise Radio. And this morning show starts right now. Well, good morning, shifters. I hope your Monday has started off beautiful. It is Monday, August the 5th, 2024, and welcome to BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. I am, doggone it, I have a hard time remembering my name. Oh, yes, Cole Johnson. And for the next 60 minutes, sit back and relax as we get and keep you informed, engaged, entertained even, and spiritually fed, along with the backlash of the 100-meter final. We're also going to touch on colleges. Why are many of them continuing to close? Well, that'll be in the program Spotlight. And in Laying the Way, criticism. How should we take it? And how should we give it? That is going to be on tap for later. All of that for later. But for now, let's start you up. Hit me with that grill. And here's what's taking place in the world today. Hurricane Debby roared across the shore early this morning along the Big Bend region of Florida as a potent Category 1 storm. One that could bring catastrophic flooding to the southeast as the sprawling system slows and unleashes drenching rain across several states. The force storm named Debby of what is expected to be a historic hurricane season. It made landfall about an hour ago, actually, 7 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Monday, near the coastal town of Steinhatchee, with the maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center. Debby's powerful winds could spawn tornadoes, and storm surges could swamp the coast as the storms crosses Florida's Big Bend area later on today. Forecasters say that Debby was then expected to move slowly across Florida into southern Georgia on Monday and Tuesday. Prayers out to my folks in the Albany, Georgia. That they might be in the cone of uncertainty path. Megan Thee Stallion, she's backing herself as she always does, and her choice for president. 2 days after performing a 4-song set that kicked off the vice president and Democratic presidential nominee, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris's campaign in Atlanta, the rapper took a break midway through her Lollapalooza set to address the backlash she received for performing at her campaign event, saying, quote, "They was fake mad that I was popping it for Kamala. I don't think they heard what she said." Close quote. The Grammy winner continued, quote, "Kamala said she wanted a ceasefire. Kamala said she supports women's rights. Kamala said y'all tired of those high gas prices. Kamala said I'm for the people. Tonight I'm not giving y'all my lightest twerk. I'm giving y'all my hardest twerk in the rain. It's hotties for Harris." Close quote. Aerosmith pieces out, unfortunately, on the Peace Out Farewell tour. And not only that, They're actually disbanding the band altogether. They announced in a social media post on Friday that its members made the difficult but necessary decision to retire from the touring due to the 76-year-old frontman Steven Tyler's vocal cord injury, which unfortunately postponed the tour almost a year ago. The release said, quote, "As you know, Steven's voice is an instrument like no other. He has spent several months tirelessly working on getting his voice to where it was before his injury. We've seen him struggle despite having the best medical team by his side. Sadly, it's clear that a full recovery from his vocal injury is not possible. A final thank you to you, the best fans on planet Earth. Play our music loud now and always. Dream on. You've made our dreams come true." Close quote. Well, prayers out to you, Steven, and thank you, Aerosmith, for 50 plus years of wonderful music. A North Carolina man accidentally fell 400 feet to his death at the Grand Canyon National Park this week. Federal authorities say that the National Park Service announced that the body of a 20-year-old visitor was found Wednesday after he fell from the rim of the Grand Canyon, which approximately is 1/4 mile west of Pipe Creek Overlook. Now, the rangers found him. He's of Hickory, North Carolina, below the rim, according to the federal government agency. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff acknowledged Saturday of having an affair during his previous marriage before his divorce with Kirsten Emhoff, his ex-wife, saying, quote, "During my first marriage, Kirsten and I went through some tough times on account of my actions. I took responsibility, and in the years since, we worked through things as a family and have come out stronger on the other side." Close quote. Now, he provided that statement to USA Today. The Daily Mail reported earlier on Saturday that Emhoff, an attorney, married now to Vice President Kamala Harris and now presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, had a relationship with a nanny who was also a teacher of Doug and Kirsten Emhoff's young daughter. The relationship preceded the end of that marriage in 2009. CBS has named its Nora O'Donnell replacement for CBS Evening News after the anchor announced she stepped away last week. After the 2024 presidential election, CBS anchors John Dickerson and Maurice Dubois will anchor Evening News from the CBS Broadcast Center in New York, and CBS News chief foreign affairs correspondent and Face the Nation host Margaret Brennan was set to anchor political and foreign affairs coverage from D.C. Lonnie Quinn will lead the weather coverage for the program as the chief weathercaster from the NYC. Acne is the most common skin condition in the U.S. and affects upwards of 50 million Americans each year. And per the AAD, cystic acne in particular can be a source of embarrassment for anxiety for those who are dealing with it. Board-certified dermatologist Hadley King, MD, told USA Today, quote, "Please know that acne is very normal and it's not your fault, and you are in excellent company. About 90% of people struggle with acne at some point in their life, and this includes celebrities. Acne, unfortunately, is normal and largely out of our control, and it does not define who we are." Close quote. Cystic acne typically arises for people in their teens and 20s, but also can last well into adulthood. The cause is normally hormonal, Dr. King says, with the caveat that it doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with your hormones. Yeah, to many teenagers. The following sports update is brought to you by the Playmakers Blog Network. To the gridiron, and actually to college football gridiron. Kentucky has now been given 2 years probation because of infractions in their football case. Kentucky and NCAA reached a settlement over infractions that included 11 football players getting that bag for work they did not perform in 2021 and 2022. Along with that probation, the university will pay an undisclosed fine and vacate records for any games in which ineligible players competed. To the NBA, shall we? And the second Kobe Bryant statue was unveiled this past weekend. Statue depicting Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, or Gigi, was unveiled in a private tented ceremony outside of Crypto.com arena. I'm sorry. Give me a second here. Memo to Bulls organization. When you wanted to honor Jerry Krause, that is what you should have done. Closed tent, dummies. Making his widow have to deal with that crap. I'm sorry, I digress. Woosah. To the NFL. And we had many who were honored in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton as Patrick Willis, Devin Hester, Julius Peppers, along with Andre Johnson. They all headed the class of 2024, which were enshrined on Saturday. Congratulations to you guys and more for donning the yellow jackets and having the bronze bust. Also in NFL, Dolphins and wide receiver Tyreek Hill, they agreed to restructure their contract, and now the wide receiver is going to be getting paid $90 million for 3 years with a $65 million guarantee. The Giants and punter Blake Snell, baseball action. Oh, sorry, my bad. Read that wrong. Let's try this again. This Olympics update is also brought to you by the Playmakers Blog Network. On the tennis court, on clay, Novak Djokovic, he completed the Golden Slam, which is, of course, the French Open, the Australian Open, the U.S. Open, Wimbledon, and now an Olympic gold as he defeated Carlos Alcaraz in straight sets to win the elusive gold medal in tennis. He previously won bronze. Yaroslava Mushnik was the first Ukraine to win an individual gold medal. She was forced to flee her country due to war. Now she can call herself an Olympic champion of the high jump. And then you have, of course, a golf gold medal. Now going to world's number one's Scotty Scheffler. Now he has that gold medal with a final round of 62 or 9 under on Sunday. The fastest man or the fastest human goes to Noah Lyles of the U.S. He won the 100-meter gold medal by 5 thousandths, not 5 tenths, not 5 hundredths, 5 thousandths of a second over Jamaica's Kishani Thompson on Sunday. The photo finish was quite something to see and behold. And the USA swimming team went out with a bang with Getty Ledecky winning the 800-meter freestyle, getting that gold medal there, her 4th straight gold medal in that event. Bobby Fink, he won the gold medal and set the world record in the 1500 freestyle on the men's side. You had Regan Smith, Lily King, Gretchen Walsh, and Tori Husk. They capped off the Olympic swim gold, getting the gold medal, setting the world record swim for the 4x100 women's relay. And for the medal count, you have Team USA. They grabbed 10 gold medals over the weekend, and now that ties them with China for the most gold. Congratulations. And now this weather update is brought to you by the Weather Channel. Over in the Pacific Northwest, it will be sunny skies and 83 degrees in Seattle. It will be rain at 68 in Minneapolis. Partly cloudy skies in 86 in Chicago. Sunny skies in 97 in St. Louis. Thunderstorms, a high of 84 in Detroit. Over on the East Coast, it will be mostly sunny skies, high of 87 in Boston. Mostly sunny skies, high of 90 in New York. Mostly sunny skies, a high of 96 in Washington, D.C. Down in the south, it will be rain and 90 in Miami, which is understandable considering there's a hurricane that's rolling through the state. Partly cloudy and 91 in Atlanta. Mostly sunny and 96 in Memphis. Sunny and 97 in New Orleans. Right down in the southwest, it will be mostly sunny skies and 98 in San Antonio. Sunny and 99 in Dallas. Partly cloudy and 96 in Houston. Out in the Rockies, it will be mostly sunny and 93 with a little bit of thunderstorms in Denver. Down in the desert, it will be as a tie for the hottest in the United States. Partly cloudy and high of 112 in Phoenix. Mostly sunny and a high of 112 in Las Vegas. And in the West Coast, it will be partly cloudy skies and 92 degrees in Los Angeles. Fog, and more fog with a high of 66 in the Yay area. And that's your look on weather for this day. And now you've been properly start it up. Coming up, we have an Olympian who medaled, but why are we going ham on Sha'Carri Richardson again? We'll touch on that in the cover story. And criticism, how should we give it and how should we receive it? But coming up next, colleges closing all over the place. Now, with protests and this, what's to make of the institution that's supposed to usher us into a better way of life? We'll touch on that next. You're watching BS3 presents the morning shift with Cole Johnson on Roku TV via BS3, BS3TVLive.com, and the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. You are listening to us live on the Real Wise Radio Network. We will return right after this.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets. Are you looking for something to do on your lunch break? Well, there's a show on the BS3 network that has only 4 words to say to you.
We ready, we ready, we ready for y'all. We ready, we ready, we ready for y'all. The Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. Live weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Welcome back to BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. And as a slight programming note, today, later on today, 2 p.m. Eastern, daylight time. 11 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. where I am in Nashville. Tune in to Shooting Lights on the Playmakers Blog Network, where it will be Playmaker, it will be the Queen of Hoops, Megan Price, it will be also myself as well. We'll recap the final group play games for Team USA for both the men and the women, and we'll preview the quarterfinals, and plus other news and notes that comes from the Paris Olympiad. That is Shooting Lights Out on the Playmakers Blog Network. Join the Playmaker, the Queen of Hoops, and yours truly. And, Shifter, you know why this program exists, because you exist in the world. And if you want to be part of Shift Nation, all you have to do is go into the YouTube channel and go onto BS3 Morning Shift, Cole Johnson's YouTube channel. And you can catch us live every weekday, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. And you can be part of the throng that I'm about to head to and read comments of now, because engagement is where we live. My man Ryan McCarthy of No Credentials Required fame, he has a wonderful show Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. You join him and Dustin Henry, No Credentials Required, on the No Creds REQ YouTube channel. He says, good morning, fellow shifters. Good morning to you, sir. And that's No Creds CREDS REQ. Playmaker, and many thanks again to you, sir, for your wonderful updates with sports. He says, good morning, Shift Nation. USA had a golden weekend, but China now is back up as they won 2 events earlier today in Paris. Yes, he did. And you saw the commercial. Join my man, Eagles Elite Podcast's own Cool McCain every Wednesday, but also join him and Playmaker later on today. That's right, later on today with Monarchs of Wrestling, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, on the Shady Sports Network YouTube channel and the Real Play Caller Sports YouTube channel. He says, good morning, Shift Nation, and hashtag fly, Eagles fly. And he says this, and I echo this for him and for the other channels I promote, and this one as well. Make sure you hit the like, the share, the subscribe, and the notification button as well. And we can be in business, because this, I believe, is worth your while. All right, so many of us are dealing with either going to college, no matter how old we are, having offspring go to college, or we are in the mode of college. But there are many who are starting to close. And why is this unfortunate phenomena happening? Well, I was going to do this a program spotlight, but actually I'm going to do just my thoughts with this one. So in just my thoughts, I probably will go and extol the virtues as to why we're having this issue when it comes to higher education and why it's not all that conducive, unfortunately, in today's climate. And here's why. Now, many young people, they meet friends, they have for the rest of their lives, and they'll play a lot of things together. They'll do similar things, play in bands or take summer classes or even take trips. But the university has to stay open long enough for students to create those moments and bonds, right? Hear this. In less than 2 years, 2 colleges shut their doors. 2. And thankfully, rising students that are going to school at the time, they have small circles of friends who, unfortunately, they just get caught up and swept up in these closures that all of a sudden you snap your fingers and the door is just shut. What should you do then? Well, there's a class action lawsuit that is actually happening as we speak with said phenomena and happening. So there's a school in Philly. They just all of a sudden closed their doors. So in the class action lawsuit against the school, the students said that the college administrators, they violated consumer protection laws, and they failed to notify regulators that the institution was financially unstable. Now, such litigation is typical, and it also accompanies unexpected college closures, right? Unfortunately, we're seeing many that are just folding, like the one in Philly all the time, but metrics show that they have been dissolving at a faster pace in recent decades. And this actually is after the 2008 housing bubble that burst. There are indications of the trend actually might even accelerate faster. Over the first half of this year, roughly 1 higher education institution per week have announced or will announce that either they will close or they'll merge with another institution. A crisis in college financial aid this year, which will have a downstream effect on enrollment, especially smaller schools, could make those matters worse. Now, the past few years, the Biden administration has taken aggressive approaches to college oversight, picking up work on Trump administration officials paused or undid. Though Biden has made student loan forgiveness a hallmark of his agenda, the president has also been adamant about fixing the root causes of mass student debt. Uh-huh. Really? A key piece of that puzzle is preventing colleges from closing with little to no warning. Now, this task is quite challenging, regardless of who is in the White House, because of the federal government's metrics for identifying at risk private colleges. They've been flawed. Now, the most recent flutter of high profile closures underscores how necessary federal intervention actually might be able to protect the lives of students and faculty from getting derailed in the coming years. Tragic stories from many students are bringing new urgency to efforts to improve the government's warning signs that a campus is flailing and faltering. Now, there was this one student that had this frustrating college journey, which started about two Christmases ago when her mother received an email from the president of a small private school in New York with the state or with a legacy stretching back 200 years. And that letter said, quote, I regret to inform you that after much deliberation, that the Casanova College Board of Trustees have determined that due to financial concerns, the college will not be enrolling students for the upcoming 2023-24 academic year, close quote. And this was sent to parents in early December of 2022. Now, though they have read some troubling news stories about schools defaulting on multi-million dollar municipal bonds, it was one of those they just didn't expect that to happen to their school. But on the bright side, that student, which her mother received that letter, she transferred to a similar school about 90 minutes away. Now, that student's mother said that she sat down with the school president in January of last year and assured that the school's finances were in good shape. But not even 4 months later, the school writes to that wonderful mother of the student saying, quote, I am devastated to have to write that our beloved Wells College is closing its doors, close quote. And this was all of a sudden with the student. She was getting ready to go for her Spanish class when she found out. And it was Monday before the last week of the term. And the class all of a sudden got quickly canceled. About a month later, after that happened, and a few hundred miles away from the Wells College, Isabel Rose Catalan was sitting in bed reading when she got similar news. And she was having a wonderful summer evening in Philly after an excursion to a museum with her grandmother when her phone was being towed up with text messages. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported that her school, the University of the Arts, closed its doors. Now, as with the startling announcement at Wells, student and faculty at Catalan's College was also shocked. And she had just had a year left before she was set to complete her creative writing degree. And she asked a wonderful question, quote, who transfers for their senior year, close quote. Now, she had chosen University of the Arts because it was close to home. Her mother died suddenly before the pandemic, and she was a junior in high school. And so the college's location made it possible for her to stay in a place that was familiar at a time when the world really felt all out of sorts. And so she transferred to Drexel, which, of course, that's another university that's in Philly. And she's set to start in the fall. So at least academically, she's okay. But she still doesn't know quite sure how her financial aid will look. Now, the closures at Wells and at University of Arts, it didn't just surprise on campus. They also seemed to startle college watchdogs too. The Middle States Commission on Higher Education, an accreditor responsible for ensuring that colleges in its purview are operating above board, they yanked both schools' accreditation statuses around the time of their respective closures. Now, the chief of staff at Middle States, Nicole Beaver, she said in an interview, the organization is committed to transparency and is always reflecting on its procedures, but accreditors expect colleges to provide them with accurate and honest information. And she said this especially when on shaky ground. She went on to say, quote, institutions close. It happens. We expect that institutions will plan for that closure, close quote. Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Now, For decades, the U.S. Department of Education has assigned private colleges a financial responsibility composite score. Now, as the name implies, the rating is an assessment of whether the nonprofit or for profit college or university is balancing its budget properly as a condition of participating in the federal financial aid programs. Now, though it's not the only measurement the agency uses to eyeball school finances, is significant for the equation. However, critics, including experts and independent groups, have said much of the math, it's a little bit sketchy. And using it to determine whether a school is about to close, that really doesn't help, especially because the school measurement, especially the measurement, I'm sorry, is based on years old tax data. Even the federal government has acknowledged that schools are aware of ways to manipulate that number. Now, since the score was established about 25 or 26 or 27 years ago, it hasn't changed significantly, says Justin Monk, who oversees student and institutional aid policy at the National Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. Now, that has been a long reaching problem, saying, quote, for a variety of reasons, the score itself isn't really good at doing what it is supposed to do and purported to do. And that's been a long-standing need, and I mean decades-long need, to make some substantive change to it, close quote. Blake Harden, a former Education Department official who also served under President Obama, had this to say, quote, hiring a big firm to go in and evaluate a lot of data is going to be expensive, close quote. And went on to say the department has been resourced and constrained, to show that this is a problem that even Republicans and Democrats struggle similarly. Congressional Republicans are pushing to cut hundreds of millions of dollars from the budget of the office that oversees college financial aid. Now, at a time when the GOP opposes federal funding for the federal education department, even at its current levels, taking on another massive project would require a lot of money. Comprehensively improving the safeguards that are supposed to protect students from having their college experiences upended with a snap of a finger would be no easy task. Last month, the Education Department enacted a slate of fresh regulations meant to address some of these limitations of that composite score for colleges. Now, under the revised rules, schools that try to game their rankings will be punished, and they'll also be disciplined if other warnings crop up. Now, the triggering events that we were talking about, they include accreditation problems, worrisome changes to financial aid, or abruptly shutting down programs that enroll a whole lot of students. The department has had a lot to do on its to-do list, and amid massive reforms to student reform programs, officials messed up the rollout of upgrades to the college financial aid process. And it created a mess that consumes a lot of time and energy, and it lowered morale in one of the agency's most important offices and caused families of college students nationwide to lose faith in the government. Now, in recent months, a professor, education professor in Tennessee, has noted that the education department is also months late in releasing another long-standing list of schools on shaky financial footing. The agency typically publishes a record of colleges on a type of oversight called, quote, heightened cash monitoring, close quote, every few months. Department spokespeople did not respond to an inquiry about why that has happened and why it's been delayed, but this professor said other more pressing priorities may be getting in the way, saying, quote, I think it's an issue of bandwidth, close quote. And I believe it's an issue that is far more painful than bandwidth. Houses needing to get that bag, and now they're saying that it's harder for them to get it. And because of it, it's like what Malcolm X said, unfortunately, in a time he should have said it. Colleges are now seeing chickens having to come home to roost when it comes to the government not billing them out financially. And that is a painful, painful lesson to learn. Balance the budget or close your doors. And those are just my thoughts. Now, coming up next,
A silver medal for a sprinter. Why is it a bad thing? We'll touch on that on the other side. You're watching BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on Roku TV via BS3, BS3TVLive.com, and the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. You're listening to it live on the Real Wise Radio Network. And we will be right back right after this. There's a 100% chance of a laugh thunderstorm. Four men with different viewpoints take a movie, show, or documentary and review it uncensored, unfiltered, uncompromised, with no holds barred. Join BS3, Wilkes, King Dog, and H-Rap B as they take on Hollywood their own way. BS3 Network proudly presents The Forecast, where H-Rap B always predicts,
if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And if you need it, get it from God.
live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
So, sit back, tune in, tell a friend. This Dope Cookie Show, we about to get started, and it's about to go down. Check me out.
Join your culinary master of ceremonies, Chef Jeff, as he introduces to you This Dope Cooking Show. Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central. Well, welcome back to BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. And if you want to join Shift Nation, all you have to do is join us live every weekday, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central on the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. And you can be part of Shift Nation. That's right, Shifter. You, the lifeblood of this program, will have a voice. Just like these wonderful individuals will have their voice be heard and broadcasted right in front of yours and my very eyes. Update from Mr. Solins or Playmaker. Sorry, I had to go with the gutment. He says Simone Biles is going to be making her final appearance at the Paris Games with the floor exercise along with Jordan Childs. Both of them, of course, were teammates in winning the all-around gold medal last weekend. And Playmaker says Biles will also look at the closeout strong after not having a great balance beam result. Well, I'm sure she will be. My man Victor Locke, V-Lock 83 or Vicala. He says, good morning, Shift Nation worldwide. Supervillain Espresso McCoffee, Super Hacker Playmaker, Cool Breeze McCain, the Eagles Elite, and of course, the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. And you do my heart well the Ed McMahon of Snowman in the Morning, Victor Locke. Join him, the super producer, Shane Lake, and Snowman himself, as they will break down probably some things in the Olympics, some things for training camp, a little bit of this with baseball, and a lot of this with basketball, as they go ham on all things sports. Snowman in the Morning, and you can see that at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on Snowman Multimedia. And you can send this along with you, Victor. I've been seeing a lot of people, especially after the Puerto Rico game, saying Michael Jordan, he went 1 of 11 when he played against Puerto Rico in 1992. But they came, had a decent number. This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation. I cannot tell you how big of an that take is. All right, before I start to throw up in my mouth, let me collect myself and continue. All right, so we had a wonderful weekend that we witnessed yesterday. Noah Lyles basically literally by a nose, and I really do mean by a nose, become the fastest human on the planet by getting a gold medal. And he was popping off at the mouth hard. He was flapping them gums and painting them nails. But I digress. But yes, he was flapping them gums saying, I'm going to bring home a gold medal. And of course, at the end, when he had to sweat through if he actually crossed the finish line first, he said, I told y'all and I did it. Well, unfortunately, on the women's side, Shacarri Richardson wasn't able to say the same thing. And a lot of people had to voice their displeasure about it. And in today's cover story, we're going to touch on why this is completely problematic. Why now the silver medalist didn't do enough. Goodness gracious. Shacarri Richardson's quest for her first Olympic gold came to fruition not with gold, though, but she did come away with a silver in a wet, rainy condition in the women's 100-meter final. Now, she fell shy of gold with St. Lucia's Julian Alfred sprinting to victory. Now, Alfred also beat Richardson in the semifinal earlier that day, finished the race and going to the finish line at 10.72 seconds. Richardson finished at 10.87. Now, Richardson was competing in her very first Olympiad and, of course, earned her first medal. And we understood why. Now, she was trying to compete in the 2020 Tokyo Games, unfortunately, because she was, let me see how I can put this in a polite way. Unfortunately, since she was caught blazing, she was caught smoking trees. She was caught just simply destroying forests. The USOC said, nah, we can't have you run. Now, yes, that sparked outrage and it sparked support from many who were saying that, well, this is unfair. How can you actually ban this woman from smoking marijuana? I mean, that doesn't really. Well, they must have tweaked their rules, and now she's able to compete. But unfortunately, she didn't get gold, as USA's Melissa Jefferson finished right behind her in third, claiming the bronze. And they put 2 Americans on the podium. However, Alfred's first medal in the history of St. Lucia overshadowed Shacarri Richardson's coming out party in the Olympics with getting gold. And being gracious as she was, Richardson greeted Alfred and congratulated her following the win, which displayed great sportsmanship despite the heated competition. Now,
Now we did see a lot of, Sha'Carri has silver, and the respect between Richardson and Alfred was great. And we saw positive stuff from social media, but there was some negative stuff, such as, "Wow, she got smoked. I thought she was supposed to be the fastest woman in the world. What happened? She's trash. She's garbage." And this is directed to those individuals. Why don't you please do me the favor? If you want to be the fastest man or woman on the planet, and you want to train to run an event at for women 10.5 seconds long, and now for a man probably about 9.75 seconds long, do me a favor and train endlessly between now and when the next Olympiads come in 2028 in Los Angeles. Train every single day. And I mean every single day. I mean even New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Independence Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day. You take no days off. 4 years solid. You train from this summer to that summer 4 years later. And then come back to me and say that she was garbage and that she was trash and that she was terrible. This woman has been training now for 8 years because she wanted to be in Tokyo, couldn't do it. And so she lifted her head up after the backlash she received from being disqualified from smoking weed. And she got back on that training wheel. She got herself in prime position to be in the Olympics, won the trials, won the worlds last and this year, only to come up with silver. And you all have harsh things to say? No. You don't have any room whatsoever to breathe that type of comment or criticism out your mouth. Now, if you're going to say, "All right, I see how she lost the race. She seems to chronically start off the block slow, but her closer speed is awesome." Now, if you did it from that aspect, fine. You're critiquing. Critiquing is fine. To basically assign a character trait to a woman who has actually displayed a lot of character, that's out of bounds. And many of you have done that. So I'm gonna do you a solid. This comes from the category of, it is better to be thought of as a fool than to open that pie hole of yours and remove all doubt. This is a time we should be celebrating an athlete like Sha'Carri. We should be lifting her up. We should actually say, "Wow, I know you wanted the gold. I know that's disappointing, but you know what? You actually have an Olympic medal. You know what? Most of us can't say we have an Olympic gold medal or Olympic silver medal or an Olympic bronze medal. She actually has a medal from an Olympiad. That is something to celebrate. And she is someone to celebrate." And then on top of it, in that moment of, well, she wanted gold, but she had to settle for silver, she greeted and she congratulated the woman who actually won the gold medal. Now, see, this is a word I have not seen assigned to her yet, but it should be, because I'm going to assign it to her. We get all these lessons about how we're supposed to be gracious in defeat and gracious in victory. When we see it on the biggest stage of them all, and to me, the Olympics, there gets no bigger stage than that. When you show that in defeat, you're as classy as you are in victory, then that means you may have a silver medal, but you, my dear, are a champion. Congratulations, Sha'Carri. An honor well deserved.
And that concludes today's cover story. People griping about an Olympic medalist. Wow. Coming up next, criticism. How should we take it? How should we issue it? You're watching BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on Roku TV via BS3, BS3TVLive.com, and the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. You're listening to it live on Real Wise Radio. We will be right back right after this. And again, Shacarri, you're a champion. Congratulations on a job well done. The moderator.
As woman, you can't be too friendly because the minute you're friendly, then they think you're flirting.
The level head.
I think so that thing is over. So I'm not looking at men like that anymore.
The truth slayer.
Okay, what in the HPV yeast infection is going on over here?
The X factor.
So I'd rather you tell me everything up front and let's start fresh.
The intersection of life and spirituality never sounded this good. BS3 Network proudly presents Life Happens live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Cool McCain.
You thought you wanted Gunther against Chad Gable, but you didn't. And I'm going to tell you why. Chad Gable would take everything that Gunther's done and bury it.
The Playmaker.
It was on site. AJ Styles walked out there, seen LA Knight. Oh, okay, then LA Knight hopped out the car. Let's go.
Break down everything in TNA, AEW, and all of the WWE programming. Join these two kings, monarchs of wrestling, live every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central on the Play Caller Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alicia.
You can't hold somebody to that standard if you haven't voiced what you want and what you're needing from that.
Mika.
If you're not communicating expectations, you're waiting for your feelings to be hurt.
Nicole.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to take the time out to be alone and to get themselves together.
Ivan.
You got to be willing to work through stuff. And from the jump street, y'all done had problems. Maybe you don't need to be working through those.
BS3 Network proudly presents Queen 3 and King podcast. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Welcome back to BS3 Presents Morning Shift for Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. It is wonderful that you have joined your way that you start your Monday morning and every morning. Because Shifter, I'm glad that I'm starting my week and my morning with you. And again, if you want to be part of Shift Nation, just go to the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. And if you have a comment, it will be, and it is appropriate, it will be read on air because engagement is how we breathe. And speaking of how we breathe, I think a lot of us love to have the understanding of where we stand with those of us who live in the same space as we are. So we have a gauge, a barometer as to, okay, I think we are good. But what if all of what you're hearing is poisonous? I'm not saying constructive in criticism. I'm talking about poisonous. And what if you're saying something to others are also coming from a place of poison? Well, I hope this actually gets ironed out in today's Light in the Way. Father God, in the name of Jesus, I thank you so much for being in the midst. Your word says that when 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you will be in the midst. So I thank you, Jesus. I thank you, Holy Spirit. I thank you, God, for being in the midst between the shifters and me. May the message that you want me to impart of criticism be devoid of my ego, devoid of my thoughts, devoid of my emotion. May all of you and none of me be represented in the following message that I'm going to put in part upon the shifters. And may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be always acceptable in your sight. Lord, you are my rock, my strength, and my redeemer. In Jesus' name, amen. So we all get criticized. We all do. I mean, where I work every year, sometime around the spring, we get an evaluation on how we've done in the previous year if we've been in the job for that long. So criticism is a part of life. We hear from our parents who love us. We hear from our spouse who loves us. We hear from our siblings who love us, even our friends. And sometimes if we're old enough and your offspring is mature enough, you hear it from your children. But what happens when the criticism, like we were talking about in the previous segment, gets off kilter, where it's not criticism, but it's hate-filled words and things just said to make you feel this small. Well, I'm glad that we have a God who actually sees this and says, well, wait. You're not getting what criticism is supposed to be. You're not getting the full scope of it. So I asked God, I was like, well, what's a scripture I could talk about with this? And he directed me to the book of James. And of course, James wrote this letter to us, and he said in chapter 1, verses 19 and 20, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." Now, I'll say this again. "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." Now, why is that important? It's important because criticism doesn't come out of a place of anger. It comes out of a place of love. And when we do criticize, it's done with the intent to make the person feel better and to give them marching orders as to how to improve upon their life, not to make them feel small because how they did offended you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So what does a rush to judgment look like? That's simple. We've been seeing it as of late, especially in the Olympics. 2 separate events where people were in an outrage. One dealt with a painting that was actually about Greek gods, but it was not about the Last Supper, but it was taken as such. And another about an Olympic boxer who people thought, oh, well, she's misgendered and is participating in a sport she shouldn't. And it comes to find out she actually was correctly gendered. When you have these rushes to judgment, it makes you look bad. It makes you look petty. It makes you look ridiculous. So you can't have the anger come with your criticism. You got to have research and calmness reign supreme. So why do we not like to research things before giving our opinions? It's funny. My very first day of journalism, and I've been in the journalism game for a decade now, actually over a decade now. And my very first day in my very first newsroom, the boss above my manager said to me, and he actually put his arm around me when he said it. He said, I want to train journalists on not being first with news. We're seeing that culture now. We see that people want to be first with news. No, I want us to be right, because it's better to be right than to be first. And so we don't like to research things before giving our opinions, because we want to be the first to give it. We want to be the first to give our opinion, but not sit back and reserve our opinions and hold it until we have all the information. So then when we do say something, we're armed not only with whatever our critique would be, but we're armed with the facts and the research to back it up. And man, we look bad when we don't research before giving our opinions. And look, I've been guilty of that. Before I had that lesson brought forth to me, I was guilty of that. So I learned then, right then and there. I'm like, okay, so every time I see something of news nature, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to critique it. But I'm going to do it with facts. I'm going to do this with research. And it has helped me with the other types of critiques I will have to give in other forms of life, not just at work, at home too. So what good does an angry opinion serve to the rest of humanity? Now, the right answer is it serves no good, but I will probably challenge and push back on that and say it serves one good. The one good an angry opinion does to serve the rest of humanity is to circle him or her and to say, do not be like that. It gives you a blueprint to not be this person. To just simply pop off at the mouth and just to say whatever comes out your mouth, whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, whether it edifies or not. You don't care. You just say it. Sometimes it's good to hold your thoughts. Sometimes it is good to just put a pause on your mouth, put a pause on your thoughts. Sometimes it is good to just sit back and let the information fall and then say something. You shouldn't be like the parent of a child that when the parent has a short fuse and the child does what children will do, they'll make a mistake that you just simply grab the child, you just simply spank them. And you don't explain why, you just go to swatting. Okay, well, the child knows that he or she did wrong. Tell him or her why it's wrong. Say something to make the situation better and make the person better. Don't just say, you suck, and that's it. Say something to the effect of, that's not right. This is why it's not right. And if you were to apply this, you won't make that same mistake again. So how valuable is a measured response in today's times? It is essential to how we breathe, how we live, how we move, and how we have our being. We got to have measured responses in today's times. Otherwise, why should we go hackneyed on every single thing that comes into our lives? I mean, that seems to be the pattern. Forget how things should be. This is how things are. And no. No. Get all the information you need. Get everything that you need to get to gain
in order for you to put forth the right message, the right opinion, and give forth the right information to make the situation better, because your comment isn't the God of it all. The correction is. And that is what it's about. Correction of a bad behavior or a wrong behavior or a wrong thought. You do that, we'll be on a much better road to prosperity for all of us, for the person who's receiving the criticism and for those who are giving it. Well, that's all the time I have. Thank you so much, Shifter, for being here. And also, thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting as well. And thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch everything, every broadcast and soon to come interviews that comes from the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. You heard me correctly. Interviews are coming soon. That's right. BS3 presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson's Influencer series. That is coming very soon. So be watchful of the Influencer series. Interviews that will be edifying for all of you and for me too. For all of us here at Comey Media Incorporated, for the BS3 Network and the Morning Shift, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as I always do. If you lack commitment, you will never start. If you lack consistency, you will never finish. And if you lack love, my shifter, you most certainly will never, ever conquer. Until we meet again in 23-hour shifter, know that I love you and know that you are a blessing. And walk out into this world, preach the gospel to ends the earth, and be the blessing that you are. And how do I know that you're a blessing? Because right here, right now, you have been a blessing to me. Hopefully, I've also been a blessing to you. I love you, Shifter. Go have a great rest of your morning and a great rest of your day. So long.